Coming. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so what's born? And what's all good? Anyway, good boy, show. Anyway, we don't have that to talk to relationship. No, that's not kid. Yeah. Yeah, we had one.
Aláwọ̀ èèyàn rí mi lónìí, wọ́n ní mo ṣàwọn mo ṣàwọn mo ṣàwọn. Bí mo ṣe fi ìbáwọn yẹn rẹ̀ lánàá.
Àwọn náà ló tẹ̀lé fún dáàbò. Náà la rí mọ́lù.
Àfùnkẹ́. Àfùnkẹ́.
The chef we found the children.
We don't know yet, not until everyone is gathered.
I came because of the accident.
Yeah.
See, Jesus.
Okay, are you presenting?
Yes.
Okay. You have it on your flash. Phone. Send it to our email.
Okay.
Lakers coming.
What's it about that? This
Lagos Studies Association for two.
You can see it's on the this. You can just sit down then.
Once it's out, I'm now that's right.
Have you sent it?
Yes.
This is the email to send your presentation in this room, just for this room. Lagos Studies Association 14 at gmail.com. Are you also presenting, sir? You have your presentation? Okay. I will check.
Lagos Studies Association.
Hello, can anybody? Is anybody there? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, but you have to speak up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, please, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but it's like you have a problem with your lightning.
Okay. Okay, can you see I can see the environment there. Like, I don't know. Can you see me?
Yes. Yes, we can see you.
Okay. So everything is all right?
Yes.
Okay, we are supposed to have about 5 panelists, 5 presenters in this panel. I'm not sure we have. Okay, so we're supposed to have about 5 panelists here. I'm not sure if anyone there is. Do we have anybody physical?
Yes, we have 2.
Okay, 2 people. Okay, thank you. All right, so okay. So we are going to start because this is perhaps should be the largest panel in this series, and because we're supposed to have 5, which is unusual. It's usually 3 or max 4, but here we have 5. So we are going to start immediately. So we are going to have about 5 minutes presentation. Then
It's okay. It's okay.
5 minutes presentation for each person. And then the other people will now, after that should take us about 25 minutes. Then we use the remaining period to discuss it. Should we make it 10 minutes? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you loud and clearly.
Okay, thank you. I don't know. So I was suggesting maybe 10 minutes for presentation. Is it 10 minutes for presentation? Then the remaining part of it will be to interrogate the presentations.
Just 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
Okay, we have 5. So okay, so we have Otumala there. I don't know. Is Otumala, Mr. Otumala there? Okay, thank you.
Who wants to go first? He's going first. Oh, you go first.
Okay. I'm supposed to go first, so I'm just I'm trying to share my my screen. Okay. Sorry, it's taking a bit of time. Can you see my share?
No. Okay. Yes. Yes. We can see it now. We can see it now.
Okay, thank you.
But okay.
All right, thank you. So I don't know why the light here is blinking, but I think once you can hear me and can see me, though I'm looking like a ghost here. I don't know. So, the title of this presentation, this paper, is From Barrels of Gun to Wars of Cash: Illiberal Democracy and Aesthetics of Transactional Politics in Nigeria Comedy Skits. So you agree with me that the Nigeria comedy skit is growing very fast and large, and it is controlling a lot of things, the way people view things, the way people, get to know about even Nigeria. Most people get to know about Nigeria. In short, it is actually taking the place of the novel with its widespread and breaking the barriers of publications. So it becomes easy to people to churn out a whole lot of comedy skits just to express their views, express their thinking about what is happening in Nigeria. And this part, they have got into so many areas of Nigerian life, but in most cases, sorry, there was supposed to be a kind of introduction. Sorry, we didn't. I think we should. Please, Otumala, please, could we help with the introduction, please?
You have to I will keep my assignment. I'll be taking a short citation of Dr. Izemeka Izema. Dr. Izemeka Izema has a PhD in English from the University of Ibadan. He's a lecturer at Canadian Federal Polytechnic, one active with Ebony State. He has published a reputable international and local journals, attended conferences and writing seminars within and outside Nigeria. His research interest spans through global mobility, post-colonial literature, literary theory, and popular culture. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that kind of mix-up. So, as I've already started, creating the background of this study by the way of introducing this. So, of course, but what has actually taken people's attention more is the humor, the relief, the comedy creates for people. It creates a kind of relief from the tension, the social tension we have in Nigeria and perhaps elsewhere. So, but beyond that humor, it has also taken on a very important aspect of our life, and that is the political part of it, and especially the way elections and political recruitment is organized in Nigeria. So particularly perhaps because of the 2023 election, It has a lot of production to perhaps keep record of what happens and then give vent to their own perception about what electioneering is. And in discussing this, it brings about the whole idea of the concept we know as illiberal democracy. And of course, so it brings about how democratic is our democratic practices in Nigeria. So what we see in these videos is a kind of a transactional politics that channeled towards grabbing of power. So there's a kind of the usual pattern of seizing power before now, before the modern democracy, which is through the military interventions and military takeover, was through the barrels of gun. So, but there's a kind of inversion where we now have people taking the money, taking the power through words of cash instead of barrels of gun. So that is the whole idea I'm trying to expand here. And so I think that serves as introduction. Then the statement of problem. So we have had a lot of people. Actually, the Nigerian comedy skit especially has got a lot of attention. People, Badare, Afolayan, Yekun, have all talked about this, the influence, the emerging and strong influence of the comedy skits. But they've mostly talked about the humor, and Yekun have also talked about how it is a source of individual self-critique. A lot of others have talked about the strategies they employ in creating their humor, and of course, the influence of the importance of these skits during the COVID-19 era has also been seriously explored. But beyond that, there appears to be a kind of a missing link when we talk about the comedy skit and how it has zeroed in on our political space. Perhaps making ridicule or satirizing our political practices and how the so-called democracy we are supposed to be practicing has become about confronting all the ideas of democracy. So our practice appears to confront or to oppose some of the major ideas of these democratic practices. So what am I supposed to do here? Basically, one is to use actually Mbembe's articulations on the banality of power in the post-colony to situate Farid Zakari's concept of illiberal democracy in 5 Nigerian comedy skits. I'm going to talk more about these concepts, but just for us to know what we are talking, the objective we are going to achieve here. So the basic thing here is highlighting this idea of Mbembe and of course Farid Zakaria. Now, so we are going to look at how these skits portray the influence of state power in institutionalizing transactional politics and its attempt to achieve legitimacy. That is how state power becomes part of the instrument or institutionalizes the whole idea of illiberal democracy, making it a part of governing style, or in this kit as portrayed in this kit. So we're going to also interrogate different ways that the state and politicians manipulate the democratic process in these comedies, and how the process makes the victims of misrule active participants in their own subjugation. That is, how do at the point we begin the gap between the oppressor and oppressed becomes a bit vague, because we find out that the supposed oppressed become participants in institutionalizing illiberal democracy that will eventually make them more oppressed. So there becomes a kind of the distinct line between this oppressors and oppressed becomes not clear again. So what the scope? Well, we are just going to base our data on comedy skits, especially on Instagram and YouTube. I'm going to use Emergence, which is Instagram handle Emergence Comedy. That's where I'm going to get my resources. Then Debole Adedayo, Miss Macroni handle. That's the Instagram handle. Then we have Emmanuel Chukwemeka Ejeku, also known as Mr. Funny. So, and of Akpogi, Mariam, Taoma, Chukwebuka Mose, Brent Chota. So, of course, these people are very important in the comedy industry because they have massive followership. And of course, the massive followership also tells us about their massive influence on the people. And of course, what they produce also has a lot of influence on the way people perceive our democratic practice, and also goes to tell us how they on their own perceive our democratic practices through their depiction of all these on their comedy, on their skits. So we, just as I highlighted earlier, we are going to use Achille Mbembe's Achille Mbembe's articulations on banality of power. You know, when we talk about banality, we talk about the ordinariness, the predictable actions of ordinary life. As a matter of fact, it is things that are supposed to be banal are not supposed to be are supposed to be ordinary routine activities. But then we now have these banality seen in our official quarters, places of power, especially in the recruitment of leaders and leadership in Nigeria. So we have the absurd and we have the grotesque, manifest in these areas. So then I'm going to integrate it with Farid Zakaria's concept of illiberal democracy. And, Zakaria's idea of illiberal democracy is actually talking about how the majority participants in democratic practices, dominate the minority and form a kind of deny the minority the freedom of being heard and of the view being. It's a very deep work that Farid Zakaria has done in this area, cutting across several continents, especially Europe and America, try to understand the way democracy works against the minority. Okay, so it becomes a kind of the dictatorial tendency of democracy against the minority. But in this area, in this particular work, I tend to see it differently by looking at how the minority in a democratic setting actually subvert the will of the majority. And as a matter of fact, win over or recruit the majority of the dispossessed and oppressed to take over power, and then make it a kind of making all the elements of democratic practices, the basic principle of democratic practice, which involves freedom of choice and all that, becomes, difficult to have in a supposed democratic setting. So the major principles of democracy, like freedom of choice, the right to participate, be voted for, and vote for in an election, becomes almost suspended or compromised in the process of elections, as we see in these comedy skits. So that is exactly what the whole idea of Zacharias illiberal democracy is talking about, how democracy constitutes a kind of dictatorial tendencies, and in this case, so I'm using the Nigeria comedy skit to explore this. And of course, I have to include if Sydney's matrix concept of the digital media, because basically I'm going to use the digital media platform as a cultural production that portrays or depicts everyday life. So our political experiences have become part of our daily life, everyday life. So that is what I'm going to do with this particular theory by Sidney's matrix. All right, so the next is okay. So I just to delve into the main thing, which is analysis. Of course, I've not been able to get all the. We are not going to be able to get all the scripts analyzed here, but I just used one because of time and the circumstances here to just pick one of Mackenzie's series, which he labels the Caretaker series, to demonstrate how these comedy skits project illiberal democracy as part of Nigerian experiment. It's a Nigeria experience. In Caretaker, for instance, is a comedic allegory of Nigerian electoral system, because what it does really is to use a caretaker, of course, especially in Nigerian context, is someone who is in charge of a house, on behalf of the landlord, usually takes care of the house, manages the tenants, those who are parking and those who are leaving, and make sure that the building or the house, everybody obeys the law, and of course, more or less the manager of the house, and he usually does it on behalf of the landlord. So he uses this caretaker phenomenon to represent Nigeria electoral system. So, and that is why the whole idea of the allegory that I allude to, comes from. And here, that in each time they attempt to select the caretaker, we have a depiction of what we have in our own political experience, especially in Nigeria, perhaps other part of Africa. Things like ballots snatching and stuffing, vote buying, and voter intimidation. So these are basically the things that we see in the Nigerian system, and of course, it's reflected here in caretaker series. So usually uses the three political parties in this caretaker series, namely Azu Party, Base 10, and Mimi political parties, to reflect the dominant parties in contest for political power in Nigeria. Of course, while we have more than three political parties in Nigeria, usually in most cases where we have elections, usually between 2-3 political parties that are very dominant. And In each of these instances, as you see in the caretaker series, usually have intimidation of voters, people who are not allowed to vote, and of course, exchange of money, buying of votes, and giving other incentives to lure voters to vote for the person who perhaps is not the most deserving of that position. And that's perhaps is what I think that's just a way of sorry. Okay, sorry. So that is the whole idea of this. So this what this basically reflect is actually members what it refers to as institutions and political machinery, which once they are in place constitute a distinctive regime of violence. What it means is that in this case, our democratic system becomes institution of violence, where people who are supposed to get involved in leadership get into their true violence. This violence is now influenced by money. It becomes transactional, which is very akin to what we have in the military, in military rule. So this becomes condition of the post-colonial, where the grotesque becomes the official action of the state. And in most cases, as we can see, especially even in this skit, the state, the people who are supposed to run affairs of the house, where the caretaker is supposed to be selected, are usually compromised. So I think this is the much I can say on this. If maybe time permits and questions come, then we'll be able to elaborate more on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. So we have the second presenter. Fortunately, I will be taking over that institution, second person in that program. The title of my paper is New Patrimonialism, Conflict of Power and Interest.
I'll share the screen for him.
Okay.
Okay, please try to share the screen, and I think I also need to maybe introduce you, I guess.
Yes. I'm waiting.
I'll share.
Yes.
Okay, introduction. No, I'm just slideshow. Check the slideshow, not for slideshow. Because show the slideshow or not for slideshow. Because like I can toggle through from here easily. The sidebar. It's not okay or
Okay. What about you?
yeah, you can see it. I'm sharing the screen.
Okay. My title of my paper is New Patrimonialism, Conflicts of Power and Interest.
Okay, sorry, Dr. Otumala. Can I maybe do the introduction before you start?
Okay. Okay.
All right, so we are about to see Dr. Otumala Simon Jonah, a PhD, a graduate of political science from the Kwara State University, Malete, teaches political science at the Federal College of Education, Abeokuta. Attended both local and international conferences. Research interests covers areas such as international relations, foreign policy analysis, development, democracy, and democratization. Okay, thank you. Let's listen to him, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The title of my paper, as shown on the screen, is New Patrimonialism, Conflict of Power and Interest between political godfather and godson in Nigeria's democratic experience. Let's take a listen. Next. Now, I will just talk to the paper and I hope we chat along as we go. Now, since Nigeria returned to democracy in 1999, succession conflicts that emanate from state have been a major issue in the democratic states. Former public office holders, governors or presidents often want to install their successors. And in the course of after installment or after the emergence of the successor, there is always a disagreement between the former president and successor, especially when those successors who emerge through the exclusive decision of their former governors or godfathers refuse to follow through on their plans. I was reading through the book written by former special assistant to the presidential as well. Again, he said disagreement, because of disagreement between Obasanjo and later Adwa, of the Tosia Adwa refused to follow through Obasanjo laid down plan. And that gave rise to conflicts and the number of peace between them. These same truths have continually raised the question of breach of personal agreements and muscle flexing between the godfathers and Godson. The major threat to the nation's democratic institution, while preserving the personal political power estates of the various political actors. And one of the things that brings conflict between political godfathers and Godson is muscle flexing. I will give an example as we go. Currently, there is a major conflict in Rivers State between the former governor, Nelson Mike, and similar Mubarak on the basis of personal interests and preservation of power estates of the non-passes. We have the case of the former governor of the Kano State, Rabi Papanso, and Mao Gandhi, a long-term friend, long-term friend of many years. After the emergence of Gandhi, there are complete, irreparable disagreements between the both parties. Let's take the next slide. This paper examines the manifestation of new patrimonial tendencies, which is described as a major factor that facilitate corruption, patronage, humanism, and clientele relationship. Within this work specifically is built on the new patrimonial theory. And within that concept, or within that theory, are basic concepts such as corruption, patronage, humanism, and clientele relationship. We know the nature of politics in Africa in general and Nigeria in particular, that it is built on the 4 pillars of corruption. Corruption, corruption, and corruption. And most of these public office holders hold them as an instrument to build patronage. They also hold this office as an instrument to build humanism and also foster clientele relationship. The relationship, when strained, have the tendency to tell the outcome of violence in the political system, especially when those interests of power are excluded and people are the godfather and the political function. The contestation between actors in these states produce conflicting outcomes, and the processes leading to these conflicts that disrupt because of democratic constitution are meant to serve personal interest and ego against the public good. Let's take another slide. Purpose. The purpose of this paper is to interrogate the intersection of paternalism, conflict of power and interest between godfather and godson in Nigerian democratic experience, and how this has shaped democratic practices and power relation and engagement in Nigeria since 1999. A number of examples are found here. We see the case of the late warlord of Ibadan, the Muslim warlord of Adedin, and the conflict that ensued between him and his espoused godfather. It was this family that led to the struggle for the thrones of Bam Adishino and the throne Radojat. In the space of 3 years, because of exchange of money and ego, there was conflict between them. And this thing has been recurring within the Nigerian democratic space. We see this reality, this paper is fundamental needs to patronage politics, power, and continued relevance of political actors in the existing equation across troubled states. It's not of study is in to situate the existing clash and conflict of power and interest between people and also in the context of the patrimonial action of these political actors. Next one. Methodology, the studies from the nature of the key political actors are rights. Extreme material and leading emphasis on issues and disagreements between political actors such as former governors, serving governors, fathers, and other stakeholders across the rights in the country. study and addressing the issues under discourse, look at specific cases of disagreement between political actors and how this disagreement form the basis for interrogating Nigeria's march towards democracy and democratic consolidation. Now, what democratic consolidation is, I need to speak to this. What democratic consolidation is in context in Nigeria is the subject of disagreement. Because at the time, I was listening to somebody, Professor Emmanuel Bujo, University of America, was saying that we can't call Nigeria democracy nascent, because nascent is something that is still new. Since 1999 to 2022, when he was looking at that statement, Nigeria has had about 23 years of unbroken democracy. So if you call one person say about 23 years nascent, that means we are missing the link, we are missing the action. Now, within that same context, how do you describe Nigerian democracy as being marching towards democratic consolidation? If all of these pockets of these issues begin to arise, I don't think we have any march towards democratic consolidation. So I pick that from the fact that before we can analyze or discuss what is democratic in the context of the Nigerian state, there is need for us to have a proper working environment to see what democracy has built over the years and what the actors that are the major personnel in the practice of democracy are made of the system. Let's have the next slide. Neopaternalism. Now, neoliberalism was first used in research on the traditional patterns of authority within various parties in West Africa by Zoe in 1996. It has since been applied elsewhere, especially in African states, but also in Latin America, Asia, and Europe. Studies on concept and institutions also explain the issues of economic stagnation, underdevelopment, poor leadership, and political conflict among actors. The very operational authority takes on personalistic nature that becomes characterized by patronage, clientelism, and corruption. Naturalism can be seen as a prolongation of the notion of national patrimonial domination developed by Max Weber, which is based on the idea of the confusion of public and private in the context of traditional legitimacy. In this paper, the framework and integrated concepts such as patronage politics, corruption, and power tussles are adopted as a theoretical basis for interrogating the intersection and relationship of conflict and interest between political godfathers and what's not in the Nigerian democratic experience. Yes, in this context, the actors are seen to hold the state and deploy the resources therein for private gain or vested interest. Madrid 2002 is of the view that those who actors and the athletes act like patrimonial lords or chieftains with action depicting the primary owner of state and its resources. You know, while we were talking, this our scholar here mentioned, the other when we were watching the movie, we mentioned Kenya. You know, it's instructive to know that this the patrimonial character is not limited to Nigeria. Pockets of states, the conflicts or the crisis in Kenya, you know, you mentioned that Nigeria was the first to appreciate Ruto or the supposed personality of that president, but the reality speaks for themselves. You know, they just wake up in the morning and act as patrimonial lords. And the state is their private estate, and the resources therein they can deploy as they like. They can make policies and they can give orders and even deploy institutions that are supposed to be neutral, that are supposed to serve the interest of the people against the people. So those are the things we're talking. How can democracy become consolidated in that context? How can we have institutionalized democracy in a context where the perspective or opinion of the masses don't hold sway? So those are the things. The opposition cannot just be seen as limited pattern, rather it's a systematic institutional structure that is characterized by the informal themes of presidentialism, clientelism, and the use of state resources to maintain legitimacy. The patrimonial laws use state resources. You'll be sitting cases. There was this conflict, there was this case in Gambia between Adam Aboru and Yahya Jamal. You know, Yahya Jamal refused to leave office and was hiding in a very palatial estate within the Gambia and giving instructions and giving conditions for him to relinquish office. You know, he gave conditions that African Union Democratic Mission to that Gambia had to attend to. Some of the estates, he said some of his acquired estates from state resources should be relinquished to him before he be able to do all of these things. Next slide. Political crisis across Nigeria. Related crises across states were discussed within the context of historical understanding of this paper. The paper's political crisis in the Lagos State between adults have mentioned that other people are consumed and the amount of energy. Shola and the total crisis in the Osun State. Nursing weakness in Wike and similarly Kubara in River State. Those are very destructive situations of new patrimonial actions of former against the new. And the funny thing is this cycle will continue. This cycle will continue. The other thing we're watching, one of those commenters said, we need power. And in response, the lady said, we don't need power, we only need sensitization. If you go out in Karl Marx theory of revolution, he said, if care is not taken, if revolution occurs, we only succeed in replacing a more terrible class with the former. If there are no adequate orientation and reorientation, what we have is a worse case scenario of those who replace, because the public office are very juicy. If care is not taken, we'll have a new patrimonial warlords that will be doing worse than what the former has done. Let's move forward for that. Conclusion: the consequence of resolved conflict, godfathers and godson in the Nigerian democratic experience has raised a permanent question on democratic sustainability and the delivery of public good. The implication thereof on the country's democracy is seen the hope of crisis across states, where actors seek personal interests as a must achieve. Most of our public office holders believe that they must stay relevant. They must stay relevant. If you read the theory of corruption written by Nancy Electoral, he said people steal because of their load. That public office holders steal for the future. Somebody said it yesterday when we were doing the analysis of Sotagia in Moscow. He said people steal for the past and steal for the future. They steal for the past. That is what happened in Africa because of the problems that are inherent, the economic and social problems that are inherent in the system. People steal for the past. The past because of the things they're not been able to achieve. They steal for the present and steal for the future. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tumala. That's a very wonderful one. You denied us to, because some of us were not there, would have wanted to go through this as you scroll down your PowerPoint presentation, but it appeared that you just remain with the topic and with the title all through. Some of us we are glued to the title all through. So maybe the next person would help us to scroll along as it presents. That will help us to lead us along, please. Okay, I think we have the next person, Shola.
Yes, I was scrolling.
I don't know what happened. My own didn't show.
I shared the screen, but I'll try and update it for the next one. Let me try again.
Okay, no problem, no problem. It's okay.
Network, I'll try again. Sorry for this last one.
Okay, it's okay. Okay. So we have Mr. Shola there.
Yes,
is it there?
Yes, I am.
Let's get this talking.
Okay, please help us try to share yours too, because you can see that some of us are not there.
What's the name? The name of your paper?
Shola, yes.
Can you see it now?
Can you see the screen?
Okay, yes. Okay, yes. Historical analysis. Okay, yeah.
Right. Let me use on that slideshow. Maybe that was the course. Yes.
Okay, so please let me quickly introduce Shola so that he will fire on immediately.
Go ahead,
we have Shola E. Ojelade, holds a BSc and MSc in political science from the University of Ilorin, Nigeria. He also has a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of Ilorin. Shola is a certified and registered teacher. He has a number of publications, which includes Stomach Infrastructure as a Tool for Political Mobilization, just 2020, Effects of Herders and Farmers, Crisis on Food Security in Nigeria, among others. He's currently a research assistant and a PhD candidate. Thank you. Shola, please go on.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. It's a privilege to be here.
Let me just come out. Let me just come out with them.
All right, so I'm not presenting to paper titled Historical Analysis of Political Violence since the Return of Democracy in Africa from 1990 to 2023, with a particular emphasis on the causes of this political violence and then the possible solutions to this political violence. But let me start by painting a picture. This job is 1990, and a wave of democracy is sweeping across Africa. All through the air, and nations were transitioning from authoritarian regime, from tyrannical regime, to a more democratic and open society. And countries after countries, from Mali to Malawi, from Zambia to Zimbabwe, from Benin Republic to Nigeria, across the country, long-standing autocratic regimes are giving way to multi-party elections across the continent. The world watches with bated breath as South Africa dismantled apartheid and Nelson Mandela walks free and the Rainbow Nation was born. Let us fast forward a bit to today. The picture has become more complex and it has become more challenging. We see a continent that's grappling with political violence, which is a stark reminder that the road to democracy is only paved is often paved rather with struggle. In Nigeria, for example, we've dealt excessively in the northeast with the Boko Haram issue. In the southwest, in the southeast rather, we have a lot of the separatist agitation is currently on. In Kenya, East Africa's economic powerhouse is still battling with the scars of the post-election violence of 2020, 2007, and 2008. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country that is based on vast mineral resources, there is a continued fight for resource control. The young nation of South Sudan, which got independence in 2011, is still stuck in conflict. Africa witnessed a lot of ethnic conflicts and that has torn the continent apart. Electoral disputes have undermined the very foundation of democracy. Resource wars have laid waste to the entire region of Africa. Terrorist insurgencies have spread across the border, from genocide in Rwanda to the Arab Spring, and then into the Arab Spring of North Africa, from the civil war in Sierra Leone to Liberia and the instability in the Sahel. Africa's path to democracy has been everything but smooth. As it stands currently, Africa is currently standing at the crossroads, where the promise of democracy is being tested by the persistence of political violence. The hope of 1990 cannot be fully realized. Ladies and gentlemen, this study, next slide please, this study adopts or uses a secondary source to generate its data, and the data were analyzed from 1990 on 2023, which encompasses a wide range of incidents, political violence across the continent of Africa. What are our objectives? The primary objective of this study is to identify the root cause of political violence in Africa and also to propose actionable solutions tailored to the African context to ameliorate this political violence across the continent that we call home. But before we go deep, this next slide, let us take a look at what political violence is. According to IPS 1973, it defines political violence as any action that is political in nature, anti-systemic, and involves a group or mass action. Now, from that definition, we came about 5 broad categories of political violence in Africa. And these are election violence, coups, ethnic conflict, insurgency and rebellion, and lastly, terrorism. Next slide. Yes, these are the forms of political violence that we found in various literatures across the continent. And according to this study, we've decided to concentrate on these forms because they are the most prevalent forms of political violence across Africa. Every literature you read, there is always one violence or another based on these forms. Now, quickly, let's look at some of the frequency and the intensity of political violence from 1900 till date, till 2023. In the 1990s, there was high intensity conflicts across the continent. The Rwanda genocide is an example. In 1994 in Rwanda, there was a genocide where an estimated 800 people were killed in 100 days. Let us take this in perspective. Killing 800,000 people, rather, 800,000 people in 100 days means that 8,000 people were killed on a daily basis for 100 days. And that was what happened in Rwanda. And a lot more is still happening till today. From there, we have cases, or another case is Sierra Leone Civil War that lasted for decades, and hundreds of thousands of people were killed. In the 2000s, attention shifted from this high intensity conflict to more towards insurgency and terrorism, with the rise of terrorist groups across Africa. Boko Haram in our backyard in Nigeria here is an example. We have ISWAP terrorizing the whole of West Africa. We have Al-Shabaab terrorizing Eastern Africa, and so on and so forth. And in the 2010s, there was continued conflict across the continent, from the Democratic Republic of Congo to new states like South Sudan, and then to other countries like the Central African Republic. With this, we have seen that across from 1900 till date, Africa has always been in one form of conflict or another. It is so difficult for you to switch on your television or even on your radio without hearing a form of violence from a country on the continent. Now, the next slide. Now, our findings, like I said, the main thing that we want to do in this study is to identify the causes of political violence. And this study, based on various literature in Africa, came up with 6 major causes of political violence in Africa. And this study has had these causes as the prime theme, or what I personally like to call the prime triggers. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the primary triggers of violence on the continent of Africa. From Kenya to Namibia, from Namibia to Sierra Leone, from Sierra Leone to Nigeria, every country you go to across Africa, based on the existing literature, these are the causes. Number one, we have poverty and an economic factor. Africa is one of the most blessed continents in the world, with vast human and abundance of natural resources. Yet, we are cursed with poverty. Example, available literature says that 40% of sub-Saharan Africans live below poverty line or live in poverty, which means that a substantial amount of Africans are poor. Now, this isn't just a statistic. This is a powder keg. Poverty has created a fertile ground for political violence, and thereby disenfranchising a large population of Africans and introducing them to political violence. Poverty fuels resentment and provides a steady stream of recruits for militant groups. The Niger Delta, for example, poverty was one of the major factors that turned frustration into militancy. That is proving that empty stomach can.
Hello, Mr. Shola. Hello, Mr. Shola, please. Hello, Mr. Shola. Sorry, please be mindful of time. We're almost running out of time, please.
Okay. So let me speed it up. The second thing, we have resource conflict, which we all know that the resources in Africa, most times the gold, the diamond, the oil, most times is a reason why a lot of countries are in conflict. A good example of this is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Also, let's move to the next one because of time. Identity tension and ethnic divide. No, still on the slide. The next one. Now, imagine a situation where your identification with a particular religion or a particular ethnic group is equated to a death sentence. That is the kind of thing we find in Africa. A lot of time, you're going to identify with a particular group, religious, social, or ethnic, then most times these are reasons for political crisis. Next one is marginalization of minority groups. The Tuareg rebellion in Mali and Niger Republic are examples of this marginalization where minority ethnic groups, their voices are not heard. And this is against the principles of democracy where everybody should be heard. The next one is electoral violence. A lot has been said about electoral violence. There's hardly any election in Nigeria, with the few exceptions of Ghana and Senegal, where electoral violence is not as prominent as it is in other parts. In Nigeria, for example, there's hardly any election where there's no violence.
Okay. Next, please. Shola.
So let me quickly move to the possible solution, which I believe is the main thing for this paper. Now, we believe that the possible solution will target the seeds. These are not just seeds. These are, I think that when we implement, when we plan on this continent, can reduce or possibly eradicate political violence across the continent. The first one is security.
You have just 1 minute. 1 minute to do that, please. 1 minute.
Security sector reform, where it will be better if the whole security sector is reformed. Second one is education. We should introduce educational and social cohesion program. We should introduce educational program that will help us heal from what has happened, like what is happening in Rwanda. Despite the genocide in 1994, they have introduced a lot of educational programs that has helped them to heal. That should also be implemented across the country or across the continent. Then we have economic development program. When this is implemented, a lot of people will be moved from poverty, and when poverty is reduced, definitely political violence will be reduced. Then democratic institutions should be strengthened, and lastly, there should be support for conflict resolution. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shola. Thank you so much for the presentation. All right, so I don't know whether we have another person there that will still because we just have about 20 minutes to the end of this. I think just about 20 minutes. So is there another person there, please?
No.
Okay. So there is this fellow who was supposed to be here. Is from University of Unizik. He had asked me to help him and present this, though it's not actually put in a way that will be easy. But let me just project the topic, and perhaps we just move around it and see how that would go. Maybe I'll try to share. I just tried to share the topic. Oh my God. So, I don't know. Okay, so let me just try to share this stuff. Okay. But it's not coming. I think he just sent it to me right now that he was bereaved, and so he's bereaved and he won't be able to participate physically and even virtually. So, but he's actually talking about Ubuntu political solution, a kind of exploring the indigenous political system as an alternative to our democratic experiment. I think, sorry, maybe if I'm able to, let's just make a comment. Comment, please, from all the ones already presented because we don't have all the time now. Can you just make comments, please? Maybe comments on mine. Yes.
I would like to my first year comment was for the history of that's one on the last person just the rest so as those rich procedures, you were saying it's true those are the rich procedures. But if you look at one of the glaring problems of the post-colonial states, we need to unpack the post-colonial state in Africa. Beyond looking at natural resources and because if you look at the points we're talking about, the patrimonial that continues, it's part of the advantage in that post-colonial states and the structure. And a post-colonial state that has not become, and it still is a coming, right? And so these institutions, yeah, small institutions like so the violence. Whether it's that or feeling out, or you wish to do so intense, you have to pick police. No, and as two sides to the police that is what we told me part of that way patrimonial before states of we make sure they look. And then you just legislate one like your household, So yes, one of the strengths of the rule of law or total democracy is that institution and trade. And also that political culture. So we're suffering from two things because of that colonial institutions. Based on that coloniality that has been and the crisis that something like Peter Electoral and I feel yes. Yeah. And that is it. So the issues of we create social and of course the political based on the institution of course so this, what you are showing here is really they're not process, but they're almost the symptoms of a very serious problem. I don't know, we need to tell us how to solve such trouble. Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate the approach. Like you said, a post-colonial state that is becoming and still finding it difficult to become. Since the early period of independence across the countries of Africa, we have the same shades of challenges. They have remained with us. And like you noted of eternity, there is detailed explanation of the challenges affecting the continent. Now, we have discussed this paper several. I discussed with him, and I don't know the situation when the things are discussed by I'm not making it further. The challenges I'm looking at, they are just like the periphery. And the computer scientists see into, the challenges that we raise, they are just like the periphery. The poverty has been with us, and the economic has been with us. But like I also talked about the issue of new patrimonialism, the institution. I read something before yesterday or yesterday about Kenya. They said the Kenya police is the weakest in Africa. They said the Kenya police the worst and the weakest in Africa. If you talk of that situation, we saw a documentary of NSAS. I have the paper I've been working on how social media contributed to the escalation of NSAS in Nigeria. But the fact remains that the institution of the military and the police are the weakest because they are just at the tip of public office holders. Yes, of the patron, of the new patrimonial laws that directs these people as much as they want. And if anybody comes up tomorrow, the swinging their allegiance is as easy as anything. It's as easy as anything. So
okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much, Doc. Does Shola have anything to say about the comments?
Part of the what's it called now, solution that I read is the security sector reform, which I believe that if we can reform the security sector, like
sorry, Shola, so that maybe you just answer this question also, because when I was listening to your presentation, actually, I was saying, is this a book or is it just a single paper? Because I look at the scope is actually very wide from 1990 to today, and the whole of Africa. I was just really shaking my. I said, I don't know how you're going to do it. Are you going to turn it into kind of a paper, or is it just I mean, into a textbook, or is it just one paper that is going to contain all that? I don't know.
It's just a paper, but for now. But what I did was I didn't look at the 50. I didn't write about the 54 countries. I only looked at specific cases like Nigeria, Congo, Kenya, and a few other countries across the continent. So that's the scope. But I had to mention Africa because I picked from across various regions of the continent. Now, to just go back to what I was saying about the reform, like they rightly said now, I think part of the major problem is the security sector. If it can be reformed, remodeled, to the extent that the institution, that's the security institution as a whole, can stand on its own without the political leaders being directly in charge for them to dictate what is and what is not.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think it's also good that you.
Let me make something.
I'm coming to you. I think it's also good that you explain that it's representative. Picking which countries that represent. Perhaps if you're talking about regional representations, I think that would be nice, so that you just make it clear from the onset, so that people don't need to have a different view about that. Okay. Yes, Doc.
Still within the same context of discussion. Dr. Shulahi was talking about reforms. The most recent of all cases of conflict within political systems in Kenya. So it comes handy. So we follow this thing on something happens somewhere else. When Ruto emerged in Kenya, the social media and discussions around Nigeria, when we see, is that Kenya is charting a new course. That the best person after Jesus is Ruto. Because of things we read, that it was a radical departure from Odinga and Kenyatta institution, But to what extent are we going to talk about reform? These people, we are part of the system. It's just like talking about religion. Religion is not the problem. The people wrongs and practice things are the problem. Ruto or whoever is and will continue to be part of the system. So if another person emerge, until we're able to punch the individual, reform should not be here. Reform should not be here. These policies we talk about. There's some people scientists. We talk about policy innovations, we talk about policy, we talk about implementation, we talk about formulation. If we keep saying these things, then we remain with us forever. But the human that drives.
Okay, so I understand. Thank you. But let me just quickly chip in what you're trying to say here, because whatever is happening in Kenya, for me, is a positive development. Very positive. The election of Ruto, although I was a bit disappointed the outcome, what is now happening, but it's still a good development because the people are taking charge. It doesn't matter if Ruto is, but even as he is trying to move away from the expectations of the people, they are still holding him to account. And that is what democracy is about, in my own view. It doesn't matter whatever. The problem really is electing someone who will not even allow the people to vent their misgivings about that person's leadership. If the people are elected, or if somebody comes to power, our people bring someone to power through the democratic principles like elections, then they are nobody is saying that once this person is elected, that's all over. No, but people should be able to hold him to account, to be able to We can talk about this, on and all that, but I think for me, okay, yeah, thank you. Hello, my sister.
Let me just interject because first he does not want to be held to account. That's
Yes.
one thing. I think we need to be very
That's the
clear.
subject of.
Exactly. So
He does not take the book to
he doesn't want to. And this is a man who comes from a very bad history of being mentored by Kenyan Mr. Arab Moi. So for him, he doesn't believe in liberal ideas that people who want, human rights and that kind of thing. Ruto doesn't believe in that. But he's very good in rhetoric, which means Nigerians just go
Yes.
talking to America the other day. But I'm glad that the US, I wish Trump can actually challenge Biden on that. Like, how dare you? This is a guy who was a suspect of the International Criminal Court. And not just a suspect, because I think my PhD on there. It's just that they hit everything. So there was no way they could have been trying to answer. But this is someone who has committed mass atrocities against my people. Right? So we are dealing with a very complicated liar. So you can never, even when it's working, people are willing to account. We are doing it even if it doesn't allow us. Right now, Kenyans are being abducted. Things we have not had of in many years, disappearances. Even if I arrive there, I need to be careful. Especially if you're very noisy, challenging. So it doesn't be.
They bring the Wi-Fi back.
At all.
Against fundamental liberties.
Yeah.
Those are the things I am talking about.
Okay, thank you. Let me just try to know if I can share this again. I think is coming up the one that okay, yeah, I think I don't know whether you guys can see it.
Yes.
Pathways to Ubuntu governance. Are we there?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Sai is a lecturer at the University of Religion and Human Relations Department of University of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. And he has this paper. Unfortunately, he just called me that he's bereaved, and then he won't be able to attend. But I think the whole idea of this, the paper is not in a way that I can present it in the form that all of us will see. But I think the whole idea is try to explore the indigenous alternative in our democratic practice. How do we nurture community consciousness as part of governance beyond the whole idea of democracy, election, and all that? How do we, for instance, engage political orientation that involves community, so that we don't just look at it from the political aspect of the country or the states or the local government, looking at the community as the nucleus of political engagement. And so here is using Igbo and as an example, using the historical Igbo ideologies that influence communal awareness, highlighting the significance of Ubuntu. Of course, Ubuntu is a Southern African term for caring of one another. Once one person is affected, the other is also implicated. So I think that's the whole idea of what he's trying to say here. And I think I just tried to summarize it. I didn't go into the details of the theory, which is already highlighted, the theory he used here, he has already highlighted it. So I don't know, maybe we just discuss it briefly if it is possible, because the idea of community is actually very important. If for instance, people in leadership understand that they are part of the community and whatever affects one somehow rubs off on the other, it would be, I think people would see politics more, a way of community service, actually, and not just, I'm coming just to pack money and go, So I don't know what any of you has to say about that. Hello? Hello, guys? Can you guys hear me?
We hear you.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to say about that? Because we just have 4 minutes now. 4 minutes remaining. Okay, let me just say, Dr. Tula, I was also looking at your own area. Is a patrimony. Well, patrimony is correct, but what about the economic aspect of this? Is it kind of investment, or is this because in most cases it's not really patrimonial in the sense that the person dictates, but sometimes it's not really that the person offers the from the lineage. The lineage is not a kind of continual patrimonial lineage system that we have in a monarchical system of governance. So you look at it perhaps as a kind of economic investment that expectations of returns are there.
Yes. What the paper was trying to say, or what the position of paper is that political fathers view public office as personal experience. Why it is not? I want, like you said the other time, you said the issue in Kenya is a weapon development. Now, those of us in pure political science to understand the fact that democracy does not imply that you offend me and I'll seek justice. Democracy is in the statement by not offending. That's the fundamental idea of democracy. That is what rule of law. If that is because of the things they said, respect for human dignity, supremacy of the law. The law is supreme, not until it is being tested, but before it is being tested. So if we say that if an intertone, or let us take an example of River State, for example. Those of us from the southeast, we read what happens there. We know the antecedents of the UK, for example, as a former chairman, a nobody running the state and trying to hold it as a personal estate. Now, the simple antecedent of what happens in rivers, same thing happened in Itaudi, same thing happened during Amici, same thing happened during Wiki, same thing is happening now. There's always this individualized tendency to hold the state as a personal estate, including economic interest, including political interest, including all forms of interest that anybody under the planet else can imagine. Those are the things that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Doc, but I'm just looking at the idea of patrimony there because, for instance, Wike, Amechi, all those didn't give it wasn't a kind of lineage transfer.
Yes, it is not the context of neo patrimoniality is taken as a new form of the patrimonialism. That is why it is called new. Like neoliberalism, like neo-Marxism, that is what it is about. That there is a new form of dominance that is taken from the old, but taken further. Where public office, I'll give you another example, just about the former president of Nigeria. Once you fall out with him, he starts writing letters because he feels that he holds an exclusive right to that office. So the conflict in this context, terrorizing in the social science, like I was telling you,
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Maybe unfortunately our time is up and we can't go further than this. So well, thank you guys for coming around for this LSA 2024. It's glad meeting you guys. Unfortunately we are not there present, but we can see you there, and it's a very entertaining and engaging intellectual discussion we've had this afternoon. So hope to see you next year again. Hopefully we're going to have 2025 LSA. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and thanks for the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Have a very wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. My opinion. Yes.